Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is the final video I'm going to be doing in my Hagwon series. I feel like I've given at least a basic knowledge for everyone to understand how Hagwons work, and given you a couple of horror stories and how to avoid everything that I did in those situations. But I also want to talk about a Hagwon horror story that happened to me in my first year. And the reason why I'm mentioning this one specifically is because I want to show how even if your contract suggests certain working hours, for example 9 to 6, how some Hagwons pressurize you into doing extra hours but not getting paid for it, rather tiny form of other compensation, yet nowhere in any form equals to the amount of hours you've spent. So this was in my first year, my most naive year, my most innocent year, where I thought everyone was going to be nice and they weren't. And so basically what happened is it was coming around to the final end of performance for all the kindergarten kids, and so there was a lot of preparation that was needed. However, we were still doing our normal teaching hours, we were still doing our normal working hours, and there wasn't enough time in those hours to get everything ready, because we had to set up the props that were going to be used for the backgrounds. We had to get the costumes ready, we had to order the costumes, count that all the costumes were ready. This wasn't feasibly possible in the hours because we didn't get any breaks in those hours to begin with, because at lunchtime you were feeding the kids and then after that you were basically teaching non-stop. One day my director comes to me and says that I need to stay behind for a few hours to help out with all the prop setups and everything. And this was the first time, so I'm going to tell you the first time and then the second time, and then what happens when you go against the director and how quickly they change. So at this stage she was quite nice. She was like, can you stay behind? Oh, and I was like, okay, but I was expecting overtime payment. But she was like, oh, I'll treat you with a meal. At this time, I had worked from I had done bus duty, so I'd been working from 8:30, maybe even 7:45 a.m. And it was now, I think, 6 p.m. So I'd been working quite a few hours. I was feeling tired, but there's a different type of pressure when you work in Hagwons. So I was like, oh, especially when you're in your first year and you are less likely to say no. And so I was like, okay, it's like maybe an hour or two. That's what I thought. It was 5 hours. 5. I was there until 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, 12. I was there until midnight. Bearing in mind, I still had to come in the next day at the same time. They don't like push it further like up, saying that, oh, you don't have to come in tomorrow. No, I was there for 5 extra hours and I didn't get any overtime. Now, had this happened to me right now in this situation, or even in my second year, I would have been like, hell no. But what happens is the Korean teachers also stay behind, and Korean teachers, they don't like confrontation, so they'll just do it because they don't want to deal with confrontation. So then you feel like the odd one out, and you do feel like an outsider if you choose to go against this. The first time it was like, I was like, it's a one-off, it'll never happen again. But it happened again, and this was in a matter of weeks, by the way. So the second time I was like, my relationship with the director was already going downhill, or had gone downhill, and I said to her, I'm not staying behind. And so she said, because I was like, it's not in my contract hours. This was, I was starting to get a voice and starting to realize this shit is not normal. And I said to her, I'm not staying after like my finishing hours, my teaching hours. And she was like, but you have to stay and do all of your work. And when she said that, she meant basically all those 5 hours of work within and that's not physically possible. So I was there until 1 a.m. in the morning. And how did they compensate every single teacher? Oh, with a meal and a few snacks from the convenience store. Did we get paid for that overtime? No. Did we have to come the next day doing bus duty or like coming at normal time? Yes. Did they care about your well-being? No, they didn't. So I would say any hours outside of your teaching hours, please make sure, first of all, if they're stated, you're getting overtime, and that's only if you agree to them. And second of all, just say no. Just say no to them. Just be like, no, I'm not doing it. But try to say it in a nice way so you don't kind of create like problems or breaks in the relationship, because you do want to try to be there. It's like a fine line between, yes, okay, I'll stay, but also being like, no, I'm exhausted from teaching kindergarten kids, not having a lunch break where I can even have a break and sit down to eat, right? And then having to then do this extra 5 hours of work. That is something you should not be doing. It's not something that you are required to do. So just make sure that if they want you to stay behind, you're getting overtime. If you don't want to do it, say you don't want to do it. Don't feel any kind of pressure from other people. If other foreign teachers are doing it, also don't give a shit about them, because I've had some foreign teachers who are just like, whatever, I can't do anything about it. No, don't be one of those foreign teachers. They may have accepted that this is what it is like, but Korean Hagwons are not supposed to be like that. You shouldn't have to accept that this is how it is. You should be like, these are not within my contract hours. You gave me contract hours. I did my contract hours. Anything after that is not my problem. So remember that. Even though I did say to her I didn't want to like stay behind, I was still made to stay 5 hours because it was 5 hours worth of extra work. I had to get all the costumes for all of my students, and I was in charge of a lot of the dancing and all of that. So I had a lot of work to do. And the other two foreign teachers, one was Chinese and one was American, they were honestly kind of the girls who were like, we're just gonna do it and deal with the shit. And I just couldn't deal with it anymore. At that point I realized my mental health had been destroyed. I was being pressurized by the director to do her will, otherwise it's not gonna be. And after, safe to say, after that day, our relationship went so declined so fast. It was unbelievable. Like, we had like confrontations constantly. It was just a constant thing where she kept trying to break the contract rules, and I kept saying no, and she just didn't like that. So she switched. So you need to be careful. Try to resolve the issues in a professional manner, but stand up for yourself and be like, this isn't my contract hours. You're not paying me anything. I don't have to stay here. Like, no. Once in a year, okay. More than once in a year for not getting any pay? Hell no. So just make sure that you are, and you're not backed into a corner, because directors, they don't give a shit. They don't care about your health. Trust me, I've made like countless, I'm gonna put them here, countless stories I've said where directors don't care about your mental health, or majority of them don't. So you are the only one who should be able to take care of yourself. And the reason why I say this is because if you keep trying to do such hours where you're staying until 1 a.m., you're going to get sick. And do Hagwons like foreigners getting sick? No, most Korean teachers have never had a sick day in their 4 years or 5 years. That's atrocious. You are allowed to be sick. You are allowed to have a mental health day. If you don't feel like it, take one of your sick days, go to a doctor, get a note, take a day off. Because you first of all shouldn't be doing such atrocious hours, but also you're entitled to having 3 or 4 sick days. You are human. Don't let them treat you in an inhumane way, because a lot of Hagwons will take advantage of you. And it's much worse for people who are not from one of the 7 native English speaking countries. So yeah, I would just say definitely look up for that. It's not a really long Hagwon horror story, but it does have a moral to the story, which is don't do more hours than your contractual hours. Even as a favor, no, no, no. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.